time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Spot Shooters Archery,
Easy Cut,
Packer Max,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Scent Lock,
Scent Blocker,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Buck Baits,
Gut Check,
Stanislavski Release Aids,
Copper John,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Vapor Hunting Products,
and Rebel 6 Rubs. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal on a restart on episode 533, Danny. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing good. So, weather has changed. Everything's good. We just got back from Woods and Water, and it's just been a great week here. We've been busy doing things and getting ready for the outdoor season. And we spent the weekend over at Woods and Water. But the thing we want to talk about is Treestand Safety Awareness Month. And Danny, you had an accident out of a tree, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So without that, I think we ought to just go ahead and talk to our special guest tonight about safety awareness and tree stands and all of that good stuff. Mr. Jim Jacques, how you doing?
Hi, Mike. How you been?
All right. We got back on. We can hear you, and everything is good. So I apologize for that snafu that we had there just a few minutes ago.
Not a problem.
So getting back to what we were talking about, it is Tree Stand Safety Awareness Month. You work with SafeTree hunting systems, which helps us get up and down from our tree stands. You build products that secure us and allow us to safely ascend and descend out of our stands. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. How did you get into this? I mean, what was the impetus of you getting into helping people like this?
Well, as I mentioned, it was purely accidental, of course, and it stemmed from my own fall back in 2002, where I fell and shattered my ankle in 5 places and ended up in the hospital. It was a pretty rough day. First day of hunting season, 2002.
First day?
First day, yep.
Wow.
I think it was October 3rd or something. I can't remember exactly. But
okay.
Yeah, my dad splinted my ankle up. He's a doctor and hauled me off to the surgery later that afternoon.
Now, were you ascending or were you descending out of a stand?
I was going up.
Going
up into a homemade tree stand.
Okay.
Yeah, always a bad idea.
Right.
I have another opinion on that.
Right.
What do they say about those tree stands? If you build it, you will fall.
Right. Now, was this a tree stand that you had built or somebody else?
Yep. No, I built it. I'd been hunting out of it for years and years, and the top board that I used for a ladder actually pulled off. And when it came off, so did I.
Wow.
So, yeah, down I went. I was only about 8 feet off the ground.
Okay.
My feet. So, but falling 8 feet and landing on, even on soft ground, it just crumpled my ankle up and oh boy, it was bad.
When this happened, did you? I don't mean to cut you off there, but when that happened, did you know what was happening? I mean, did you have a split second to think about, oh no, this is happening to me?
No, not really. Well, yeah, kind of, because on the way down, you get a half a second to figure that out. But it seemed like forever, and then all of a sudden, crunch.
Oh man,
it was loud. Yeah, the sound was terrible.
Okay, so
and then the scream following that was even louder, and then the anger because I knew what I'd done.
Okay,
so yeah, it was bad. So
as you're laying there and you're thinking about this, like you said, those emotions going through your head. I just got to. At that point, what are you thinking, and how did you get a hold of somebody to get you out of the woods?
Well, fortunately, my son was only about 100 yards away, and my dad was actually on the way to his blind because it was still dark out.
Okay.
So my son came over and saw me all crumpled up on the ground, and I told him to go get my dad, who's a doctor, and he ran out and got him, came back, and he splinted me up and drove his truck right to where I was sitting. I had to get up and get into the truck, which I barely remember.
Okay.
Then he drove me on our 2-mile, 2-tracker out of the woods, bouncing and bumping all the way, and then into the hospital, about 15 miles away.
Did you pass out at all? Along the way?
No, I don't think I did. But then, the surgery was later on in the evening. Once they got the drugs in me, everything seemed to calm down
Right.
a bunch. but then I went through the surgery, and I ended up with a horrible headache afterwards. And I ended up back in the hospital after that with what they termed to be aseptic meningitis, which is non-bacterial. It's just a reaction to the anesthesia. So that put me, I lost 2-3 days of my life. I don't know what happened ever.
Okay.
And they didn't know if I was going to make it. So, but I pulled out, thank God.
Well,
And then after that, that's how I got kind of started, sitting there thinking in my hospital bed, what the heck just happened,
right.
And I talked to a nephew, and he says, well, geez, Jim, how come you're not using these climbing lines? He was a rock climber.
Okay.
And he started showing me how does a Prusik work with a climbing line. And by the following year, in 2003, we had started this little business up, and it's been pretty busy ever since.
Okay, so it came through your nephew being a rock climber. So he was familiar. Actually, I'm going to put a picture up right now of the Prusik knots and how they tie them. So he was quite familiar with this and how they worked.
Yeah, he'd actually been using them.
Okay, and rock climbing, I guess that's one thing that obviously lifelines and all that kind of good stuff. It's very important to him. So. So at that point, he says, why aren't you using them? And you decided that you wanted to take off with a company that would start making these and helping other people?
Yeah, we went into business together, but him with the younger family wasn't interested in focusing on it, so I just took it over myself, and I've been doing it ever since. Okay. I have busy years and quiet years, but the first 10 years or so, I was very passionate about this.
Yeah.
And I used to read on the internet about people who have fallen, and it nearly brought me to tears because I knew what they were going through.
Right, absolutely. Well, we got a question. We'll go ahead and post up tonight. Speaking of this, have you or do you know anyone who's fallen out of a tree stand? The question it's pretty simple, straightforward, yes or no. So we want everybody to kind of put that up there. I personally know 4 people. Actually, Danny now 5. And you counted in those. How many of your friends that had fallen, or did you know people who had fallen before your accident happened?
I didn't know of anybody before, but after that, all of a sudden it seemed like they were coming out of the woodwork.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I brought it up, and pretty soon, oh yeah, matter of fact, one guy fell one of my friends fell the same weekend that I fell, but he fell out of a big white pine tree.
Okay.
And he basically played pinball on the way down, so he didn't hit the ground that hard. But he was pretty bruised up from that.
Yeah, I bet.
All the branches.
Now, Danny, talking about your accident a little bit, refresh us here on kind of what happened to you.
So, in my younger days of hunting public land, we were hunting public land, and we found there was an oak tree that had a decent split to it, and you could climb up there, and you could stand up in there, and you would hunt from up there.
Okay.
And my brother was with me at the time, and he was on at another tree stand, and we had these microphones.
Okay.
So we could talk to each other,
like a walkie-talkie, but you had an earpiece and a mic.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it was if I remember, it was cold. It was kind of snowy, and I think it was time. We were like, okay, it's getting cold. I'm going to get out. So I turned around to take my step out, and the snow kind of packed into the tree, and it
made it slick.
Oh yeah, it did. And then he heard on his end, he heard the oh, and then the oof.
Okay.
And then the ow. And then I kind of fell down the tree, and then I hit. It was probably like I think it was about 6 feet.
Okay.
That I hit, and then I fell backwards, and I fell on my back.
Okay.
But luckily, there was snow.
Okay.
And there was no rocks underneath it or anything like that. But
no broken bones?
No broken bones, no nothing. But every day I think about these people, like Jim here, that things have happened. And he said from 8 feet himself. And it's like, that was the last time I played that game of playing young guy climbing into a tree that can hunt from it. So it was just one of those things. It was just like, it happens to you once. Yeah, you learn.
It's Jim. You taught me early on when we first talked, and I don't remember how many years ago. It's been quite a while.
Been a while, yeah.
And you sent me a couple of those lines, and I still use them. I've got them in. I don't know if they're in my tree stands in Alpena or in Alcona County here in Michigan, or if I've got them in my 2 tree stands down in Indiana. But every time I go into a stand, I always make sure that we've got lifeline. The people, we all share stands now, both places that I hunt. So guys are bringing their lifelines in as well. So we equip everything with them. But that was the one thing is I always had one in the stand I was using, and I had one in my backpack. So if I went to another stand and I forgot to take that one out, I always had one with me. And I tell you, I don't climb without them. It's something that when I saw your X-ray, it stuck in my mind. Is like you don't ascend or descend without them. So
good for you, Mike.
Absolutely. And Randy has got a couple comments on Facebook Live that this is one of the knots that they're teaching the scouts this year.
Okay.
And it says the wife's uncle had this happen, and he's had neurological issues ever since the fall. How about you, Jim? Have you had anything with the ankle since your fall along those sorts as well?
Well, let's just say I don't run any longer.
Okay.
You stopped running those marathons, didn't you?
Well, I don't run anywhere.
Gotcha. But it hasn't stopped you from hunting, though.
Oh, no. I still go up in the tree, but only with a line.
Okay.
I won't do it otherwise. And, I have ways to get them up there so I don't have to climb and put them up either. So. Okay,
well, let's talk about that, because that's always been a question of mine. Okay, when you've got a lifeline and you put your tree stand up, you're standing at the tree and you're like, I'm going to put a tree stand in this tree right there. That's the spot. And whether it's a climber, ladder stand, a hangout, whatever, how do you get the lifeline safely into the tree and secured to where you can actually go up and not have to worry about ascending that first time without one?
Well, 2 different scenarios. The easiest one is if you're using sticks. You use a short version of the lifeline and use it like a lineman's belt.
Right.
Okay. Once you get up there, you set the long line, and then you can hook onto that. That's the easy way. The other way, which is a little bit more difficult, is most folks use these haul lines for their bows, right?
Right.
So what you do is put a weight on the end of the haul line and tie the other end to the rope.
Okay.
Throw that weight up over a limb and wrap it around the tree and pull it up and over and back down through the loop.
Okay.
It sounds easier than it is, but it does work. And I've done it lots of times.
Okay. I got to ask, how many times have you thrown something up over a limit and it come back and hit you? Couple?
I'm still fast enough to get out of the way.
Okay, gotcha. I gotcha. Well, I tell you what, we're getting close here to break. Let's go ahead. We'll take a break. We come back. I want to talk about your product and show people what you're building, how kind of what you're offering, and how they can get in touch with you. So we're going to step outside. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue more of this conversation. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Talking safety, talking tree stands, getting safely up and down, talking with Jacques from SafeTree Hunt Systems, who builds lifelines for people like us to be able to ascend and descend into our stands properly and safely so we can go back for another hunt.
And if we want to get one, where do we go?
I think we need to ask Jim. Jim, where can we find your products?
Well, as I mentioned to you earlier, I did lose my website to hackers, and I have not been able to replace that yet, but I am on Facebook under SafeTree Hunt. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me in all those places. So, or give me a call.
All right. And if you need to get in touch with Jim, like I said, via the phone, we're not going to put his phone number up here so everybody but let us know and we'll pass it along.
We'll pass it along to you. And Josh Hagerman actually has a question for you.
Okay.
Any tips on running a lifeline on a ladder stand with a shooting rail without it being in the way while up in the tree?
Yeah, bring it on the inside of the rail, and definitely use a climbing line on a ladder stand. Ladder stands are just as dangerous as any other stand. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all I use now is ladder stands. I don't like hanging out in the breeze, putting up a hang-on stand. I've never used a climber, so I've had no experience with that. But I've switched over to ladder stands, and I feel safer. I personally think they're safer. They're safer for me, but there's nothing wrong with using climbers or hang-ons as well. So. Getting to your product, I'll let you talk a little bit about it here. I got some photos of what you're building, and you can kind of run us through, what you're doing with it and how everything works.
Yeah, the Lifeline is, I can make any size, but my standards are 30 and 25 footers. The line that I use is from Bluewater Ropes. It's a product that they sell called a salt line. It's 7/16. And it's the same type of line that they use for the search and rescue crews.
Okay.
It's a static line. It's not dynamic. You don't need dynamic for this.
Okay.
That's for mountain climbers who are falling
explain
long
that.
ways.
Explain that a little bit. What does that mean?
The static line doesn't have any stretch in it. The dynamic line does.
Okay.
And so the dynamic, if you're going to fall 40, 50, 60 feet, you want a little stretch in that rope because the tug at the end is pretty brutal.
Okay.
But if you're only falling 6, 8, 10, 12 feet, it's usually not. Actually, with this system, you're only going to fall about 4.
Okay, you're right.
So you really don't need to have the dynamic line.
Okay, so that Prusik knot, once that fall starts, it's going to lock in pretty quick.
Yeah, the Prusik is either a 6.5 or 7.5 millimeter, and that's specifically made for Prusik loops. And I tie the ends together with what's called a double fishing knot, and those knots will hold. Matter of fact, once they're on, they're pretty darn hard to get off.
Right.
You wrap the Prusik line around. It's a real simple knot to do. I literally did hundreds and hundreds of them now.
Right.
But that combination, it took me a couple of years to get that right, about 2-3 years.
Okay.
But it's the best value, and the ropes, they just don't wear out. As a matter of fact, I checked some of mine last weekend when I was up. They've been hanging in the woods for 12 years. I don't ever take them out. They're still solid. I make sure that the animals don't get them.
Yeah.
And they don't grow into the tree. But
right. Well, that's one thing. The ones I got, the two I have from you, they stay out, and that's one thing I've really been impressed with is the way that they've held up through the years. And
yes.
and I got a picture of it. We're talking about the Prusik knot here. I've got a good shot of that up here on a single lifeline, and it shows that knot. I have had to tie that knot because foolish me along the way has allowed that to slide off the end at some point. And when I picked it up, it unfurled. And I'm like, oh no. So I'm in the woods, and luckily I had cell service. So I Googled it, and I got that to where I could put that back on. So I understand what you're talking about having to get that thing tied on there right. But it's important that you do tie that the correct way. Am I right?
Yeah, I recommend everybody take it apart and put it back together several times to get a feel for it. It's basically 3 loops inside itself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do it with 2. 2 doesn't work. You have to have 3.
Okay.
The knot was designed in 1935 by a man named Prusik, and they started using it in the 50s for mountaineering.
Okay.
And so it's been around for a while.
So this line here, like I said, you started this with your nephew who did mountain climbing. So we're not talking just off-the-shelf average line that you're using. I mean, this stuff, like I said, it holds up. It's good quality, and it's going to stop you when you fall.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. That you don't really want to use the hardware store rope that you can pick up for cheap. I mean, this stuff retails at $1 a foot. It's not cheap line.
Right.
But you can find the gym ropes and things like that they'll use, and they're okay, but they don't have the outdoor lifespan that this stuff does. It's really solid. I mean, I've sold this all over the country, and occasionally I get some of the clubs that will actually buy these 50 to 100 at a time, which is a lot for me.
Well, we're going to be getting some new stands at our club, and that I'm going to be putting an order in. I already know that to get some more. Now, talking about the average length, let's say I've got a 16-foot ladder stand. What what size or what length do I need to order for that? And let's say we're going to go up to a 20, because I know you offer different sizes.
Mm-hmm. So, rule of thumb is general. You take the height of your seat, let's say 16 feet, add 7.
Okay.
And so that's 23. That's a very minimum.
Okay.
So I start them at 25 because there's lots of 15-foot ladder stands. And some go up to 20 and 22, which, add 7. That gets you 29. So I've got the solution for the 15 to the 22-foot ladder stands. It's either 25 or 30 footers.
Okay.
Some guys go higher, and I'll make longer line as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I know there's some guys with climbers, I've heard that they go way up. I mean, it's incredible. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're actually that high in a tree? I was like, there's no way I'm going that high.
The longest I've made is 40-footer.
Really?
And I work with the guy, and I think he's crazy. And so does he. So.
All right, I got you. Another question for you. Let's say, unfortunately, you take a slip and fall, and everything is going to work like it should. Once we've slipped and we've pulled on that Prusik knot and put all of our weight on it with whatever gear we might have with us, whether we're hauling up a backpack or whatever, should we replace the Prusik knot line, or should we replace the actual lifeline itself?
I don't think you need to, because it's usually pretty solid. They're meant to take that type of abuse. I would not leave a Prusik loop out in the weather. Okay. Years and years and years at a time. I replace mine every 3 years.
Okay.
The lifeline I leave out there pretty much forever. But
okay, I gotcha. Dan, what are you thinking? You're over there awful quiet.
Well, you know what? I'm reading a comment here that's coming along on the Facebook, and Dustin Worley down in Virginia got lucky once hunting in Hurricane Matthew during 2016.
My first question is, why are you hunting in a hurricane?
I'm just reading Whirlybird. I'm just reading what I'm right.
I think that's where he got his nickname, Whirlybird.
Right. Had a strap break on top of a ladder stand. The stand moved, and luckily he caught it. He used paracord to hold it to a tree. Held it till he was able to get down. Straps didn't break, luckily, on the stabilizer bar on the ladder section. Since then, he uses a harness. It wised him up quickly. Use a harness, folks, please.
Yes. Absolutely.
Ken Cicluna says it's a key knot for saddle hunting.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point, because I've looked into tree saddle hunting. Jim, do you get requests for certain pieces for tree saddle hunters as well?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, I just talked to a guy yesterday and gave him a 12-foot piece. That's all he needed. Plus a Prusik loop, which is a little bit longer than I normally make. So he was all set. Matter of fact, he just sort of hooked me up with Saddle Hunters Nation and another Facebook page. So I've been looking in there to see what I can do to help those folks out as well.
Okay, that's awesome. And Ken Cicluna, he's one of the guys that works with us here at the Up North Journal. Ken, thank you for that, because I completely forgot about Saddle Hunters. I mean, that just kind of slipped my mind. So thank you for bringing that up.
And Dustin Worley's reply is he's dedicated.
He's dedicated. Yeah, he is dedicated to hunt in a hurricane. Right? I'll give it to you. So, now we talked a little bit about where to find them. We talked a little bit about the product. What can let's say Mike calls up and Dan calls up. Mike needs a 25-footer. Dan needs a 35-footer. What do we expect to pay for something like this?
Well, my standard 30-footer is $36 now.
Okay.
About $5 less, about 30 to 31 for the 25. I got to look at the page. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, they're not very expensive, and they've gone up in the 17th. Well, I'm in my 17th season now. They've gone up from just 30 to 36. That's not too bad.
No, and the thing about it too is a little more than $1 a foot. Your life is not worth $1 a foot,
right?
Or $2 a foot, whatever it is. But I will say, I know your prices are better than some of the ones we see in the stores. I do know that.
Well, from a quality standpoint to the price, I beat them all day long. But I don't have any overhead either, and I don't sell these to make money. I make a little bit, but just enough to keep going for next year, right?
There you go. And speaking of that. If people order today, do you have them in stock, and are you ready to ship them out ASAP?
Yep. Mostly I do. Sometimes I gotta wait a couple of days for new stock to come in, but usually I have it, and I do have some right now. So yeah.
Okay, good
excellent. Deal. That's good to know, because I know I'm totally off topic. Over Mr. Buck Bates was kind of getting nervous yesterday about his shipment.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
waiting to come in. Right.
That's right.
So it's good to know that Jim's got everything in stock, ready to go. Give him a shout. Get a lifeline.
Absolutely. I tell you what, we're getting close to another break here. Let's go ahead. We'll take another break. We come back. I kind of like to talk a little bit. You and I talked before the show a little bit about the force of hitting the ground, the speeds and things like that. We got some numbers we got from the Treestand Safety Association, or I think that's what they're called. But anyway, we got a couple things we want to talk about in that arena as well. And then might want to pick your brain just a little bit about your hunting, and your experiences and things like that, and how you got started out in the outdoors. So we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this, and we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back, third segment. We're talking safety still. Safety lines, lifelines, talking with Jim Jacques from SafeTree Hunting Systems. Right here, another great Made in Michigan product that's helping people in the outdoors. Jim, I can't say thank you enough for what you do. I mean, sincerely, it's to see people put their passion in something that helps keep people safe, to me, is awesome.
Well, the thanks that I've gotten from some folks where I've actually saved their lives has been enough to keep me doing this for a long time.
Well, I want to throw a picture up. I mean, we put up the picture of you, or of your X-ray. By the way, how much metal did you have in your leg? Let me throw that back up again.
A plate and 9 screws.
A plate and 9
The worst ones were it put the ankle back together because I broke the small bone on the bottom, so that cracked.
That's
and then the
long
ankle
screws?
split apart. Yeah, the ankle split right apart. Those were the worst.
Oh, I just every time I remember when you had that as your profile picture at some point, and I was just every time I saw that I was just like, oh, that has got to be so painful. I mean,
I had to get them all taken out though because I'm actually a ski instructor at Pine Knob, so I couldn't ski with those pins in my ankle.
Your leg wouldn't flex, or your foot wouldn't flex. Am I right?
Well, it was that plus the pins rubbed against the boot, which were under the skin, and it was just ouch.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. Ow!
I had to have my boots all custom designed to fit me too.
Okay. Well, the next picture you've got on your page is a young guy who had an injury. He's pretty well healed up, but it makes me cringe. I mean, the cut on him from under his breast all the way up to his neck. That to me looks like it may have came from one of our old screw-in style steps, like what I call famously the gut hooks.
That's exactly what happened.
Oh,
I don't know that guy, but can you imagine how lucky he was to not have been gutted and basically had his jugular tore out by that?
The jugular or his heart. It just blows my mind that the guy, he's sitting there, he's smiling,
Well, he should be smiling. He was pretty lucky.
Right?
Yeah.
That to me just scares the devil out of me. But I'm going to put up, we got some stats here. That's what we wanted to talk about. I hope everybody at home can see that, but I'm going to get on my phone here and blow this up a little bit so I can actually comment on this and read everything correctly. So I got to.
So what this diagram is showing is height and fall and how fast you're going.
Yeah, rate of fall and what you're hitting the ground, the force you're hitting the ground with. So.
Oh, where's the other line? That's the height of bounce.
Right. Well, that's the problem. I think most people don't bounce.
No bounce, huh?
No bounce. Nope, you're not 10 anymore.
Actually, I actually don't have that one on my phone, but there it is. I can see it there.
If you take the question down, you can read the bottom too.
Okay. It says 30 feet at 30 miles an hour. That's 1.37 seconds. It takes you to fall that fast. So in less than 2 seconds from 30 feet, you're on the ground. And I'm trying to see what it says for the force. I can't read it there. I got my question over top of it. But 20 feet, it's 24.5 miles an hour. at 1.2 seconds, and at 16 feet, you're hitting the ground at 21.9 miles an hour in 1 second, and at 12 feet, it's 18.4 miles an hour in 0.8 of a second. So you said you were how high?
8 feet.
8 feet. So less than a second, you were down on the ground. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
The 12-foot fall, it says 4.1 tons of force. The 16-foot fall is 5.5 tons of force. I wonder if that's per square inch. I don't know how they equate that. It doesn't say. 6.9 tons of force from 20 feet and 10.3 tons of force from 30 feet. So you're hitting the ground with a
little bit of force,
with a ton of force, and you think about how quickly that snaps bone. Well, you don't think you actually know how quickly that does, but to think about how fast you're actually accelerating on that descent and how quickly it does happen. It doesn't give much time for a thought to go through your head, but you said it almost seemed like forever. I mean, it's you see both sides of that, I guess is what I'm saying. That's pretty incredible. And the next
good job trying to scare these folks.
Well,
because it's scary as hell. Trust me, I know.
Well, it's the fact that it's scary. It's the end result we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
You can read numbers all day you want.
We don't want anybody to
not the fall, it's that sudden stop at the end.
That's what they all say, and I don't want to find out.
I call it deceleration trauma.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, it's the stop.
And you think, okay, ladder stands are safer, certain kind of stand, whatever. So this graphic I got up it breaks it down. It talks about the climbing stands. 25% of the falls on average are from climbers. 31% are on lock-on stands. 20% are homemade, which is what you experienced, Jim. And another 20% is from a ladder stand. And I really wouldn't have thought it would have been that high with a ladder stand. I really thought it would have been much lower.
Well, you know what the biggest problem with ladder stands is that the steps get froze up quite often, and people's feet slip on them. I had a guy tell me that he slipped, fell backwards, lost his grip, his foot slipped through, and he got hung upside down with a broken ankle or broken leg, and he couldn't get out of it. He had to scream for an hour for his friends to come and find him. The stories are endless.
Yeah, well, and I guess while we're talking about lifelines, I mean, just as important a piece of gear is the type of harness that you do wear. I mean, do you have any information that you could recommend on a specific style of harness versus another that you have had experience with?
No, I try to not do that because I don't sell them.
Okay.
But what I recommend is that if you're going to buy one, just don't go grab one and go with it. Go try them on. Go to some place that has 3 or 4 or 5 or more different types of harnesses, and take them out of the package, put them on, see how they feel. There's tons of types, and they give a lot of recommendations from places like Archery Talk and so on. That there's huge discussions, and of course everybody's got an opinion too. So that's something that I don't do.
Okay, no, I respect that actually. I understand what you're saying there.
Well, it's something that's got to fit you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Compared to like back in the 80s when they had the Baker tree stands, the climbers, that you put the 2 ropes over your feet and you shimmied up the tree and hope that it didn't let go and you're hanging there with the one piece and you're looking down at the ground at the other piece, right?
That's the reason I never went with a climber. It just scared me. I always thought if the bottom fell, how do you get down?
Right? Well, they've changed them since then, but there again, you got to get out there. This weekend we saw Jacques at Family Traditions. He's got several different types. You got to try them all to know which one you're going to like, and whether it be ladder, hang on, or a climber. But you got to go out and try it. It's not like going to go out and buy a car. You just walk in, open the door, get in, drive away.
Right.
You got to get something that fits you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of guys will go out and they'll buy a whole bunch of different types of tree stands before they settle on one. I think you should probably do that with a harness too.
I've tried several. I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 different kinds, but I've kind of settled on what I've got now. And I'm like you. I'm not going to say which one just because out of respect. Get out there and test drive them. I think that's important. I think you make a great point. Is to try different ones, get that fit and feel, and see what you like, what feels good to you, but also what's safe. I guess is the key point to that.
Exactly. So. The safety #1.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I tell you what, let's turn gears here just a little bit while I got you here. we want to step back a little bit. How did you get into the outdoors? We want to talk a little bit about Jim now. Besides, we've already talked about the safety aspect and talked about your company, but you as a hunter, how did you get started?
Well, I grew up in Tawas, and my dad's still alive up there, 88 years old, and he still enjoys going out to the deer camp with us. There's a little bit that he can do now. But I guess my first introduction to the real outdoors was, well, it's Thursday night. It's time for Michigan Outdoors with Morton F.
Right? Absolutely.
Okay, I'm an old guy, right?
Hey, we're getting there. We know. We know who you're talking about.
And I used to hunt with my dad, and by the time I was in high school, he bought his own property, and we hunted there, and then we ended up selling that and getting another one. So I've always hunted on private land, and
wow, that's cool.
I've always been able to do my deer hunting that way. At least a deer hunt. I go out for rough grouse and ducks and geese and other things as well, a little bit. Not quite as much as I used to, but it's still fun to do.
Right.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
Are you primarily a rifle hunter, bow or crossbow? What's your favorite way to go after a deer?
My boys think I was getting old, so they bought me a crossbow a couple of years ago. Still haven't taken it out yet.
and that's fine. We like to hear that.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, I guess that's why you're helping out with the Broadhead League over there at Oakland County Sportsman's Club. So I guess I already knew the answer to that question before I actually asked it. But
I've always been a rifle hunter.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. That's been always that's the family part too. Out of 13 hunters in our camp, we only got 3 of us that are actually bow hunters. The rest are all rifle hunters.
Okay. That's interesting. Sometimes you see those family groups and those dynamics where everybody kind of bonds together in a certain way. It's that way at our camp. There's only a couple of us bow hunters. What about your camp, Danny? Is yours the same way?
We're pretty much all bow hunters. A couple of us got crossbows, but we all double duty it usually.
Yeah. Make most of the season.
Absolutely. We're up there in October. We're all bow hunting, either with a bow or a crossbow, or in November when we all got a gun in our hands.
Right on. Well, kind of, looking back, is there a certain hunt that if you had to pick a hunt that was your favorite, that really sticks in your mind, whether it was last year or whether it was back when you first started, what would that hunt be?
I'd say that one of the best ones was back in 2005 when my boys were out there with me, and I shot a nice 8-point, and then it wasn't but a couple hours later, my younger son shot a nice 8-point as well.
That is cool.
And so we spent a lot of effort chasing things around, trying to catch up to them, and that was a really good year. We ended up putting 5 8-points, 2 7-points, and a 4-point on the buck pole, along with about 8 does.
Wow, that is a good season right there.
Yeah.
That is cool. And hats off to you. I'm so glad to hear that you guys shoot does as well. It's just it's controversial to some camps or some people, but as time goes on, we're learning more about deer management. Man, I just thank you for being one of those guys. I really appreciate that.
All right, okay. You tell us your story, your one that you remember, and the 2 8-points. Now it's time to eat. What would be one of your favorite recipes? And it doesn't have to be venison. It can be any recipe. What's your go-to a meal using game that would be? Yeah, give me that.
My favorite is obviously venison backstraps, but it's more on how you make them. A guy from General Motors took me out for lunch one day to his house in Flint and explained and actually showed me how to make some really good venison. And he cuts these backstraps into 3/4 inch slices, and he got the grill out on the back porch, just way too much charcoal on it, super hot. He seasoned them up a little bit, and then he gets out this big bottle of squeezed parquet margarine, and he lays them all out on a couple of cookie sheets and puts this margarine all over top of them. I'm going, what in the heck are you doing? He says, watch. So when he puts it on the grill, he puts it margarine down, and the grill just takes off, and it's flaming like crazy. 2 minutes, and in the meantime, he puts more margarine on the other side, and then he flips them over about 2-3 minutes later we take them off. Oh my God, it was the best I've ever had.
He seared it good.
That. Oh, it was great. It was basically seared, and they didn't cook, but not even 5-6 minutes. And so I do that out at our camp, and we have them probably 2 or 3 whole backstraps for our group, and those are hors d'oeuvres.
Right? Man,
yeah,
that sounds
my
good.
favorite. Yeah,
All right.
Good.
So now we got your favorite meal. You got to go up north to Tawas, right? So you hop in your vehicle, you're driving up north. What is your go-to music, podcast? What do you listen to on the way up north?
Right now it's pretty much anything, but when my kids were younger, once we hit the road to the deer camp, of course, it was Ted Nugent, right there, right? And so my boys now, they're older, and they do the exact same thing still. I love it.
That's a great tradition, man.
That's pretty good.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. Is that a Michigan thing?
It probably
because
is.
Ted's from Michigan. But okay, well, let me ask you this. You said when you hit the road going up north, where does up north begin for you?
Probably not till I get over the bridge.
Which bridge?
The Zilwaukee.
Okay.
That's kind of getting up north.
Okay. See,
but it's kind of hard for me to say up north because I lived up there.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
Exit 190.
Yeah.
I have to tell people around here that's where up north is, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, like Danny said, for us, we both agree on this. And not because of us working together, but the fact that when we first asked each other that question, we both said exit 190. And everybody knows here in Michigan, exit 190 is Gladwin. And what happens at Gladwin? The road divides, and there's woods in the middle, and you can't see oncoming traffic. Mm-hmm. And there's just something about that. When you hit that point, for me, it's like, yeah, I'm up north now.
Right, exactly. All right, we now hear your favorite song. We've got your favorite dinner meal. We've got another question we got for you is: you're sitting out in your tree stand or your blind or whatever you're doing. You look in your backpack and you got to have a snack. What's your go-to snack out in the woods?
Well, one of the things I always had with me is lemon drops.
Okay.
No, that makes perfectly good sense.
That's the first time I've heard that. That's good.
Lemon drops are good.
Yeah. Usually some, Nature Valley granola type bars, but not the really dry ones.
Okay.
For me, they got to have a lot of chocolate in them.
Okay. Something that's a little chewy, got some substance to it. I got you.
Exactly. See, so he's a lemon drop kind of guy.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, we've spent about 45 minutes here talking. Before we let you go, I want to give everybody another opportunity. Where can they find your product at and get a hold of you at? So that way, when they need lifelines, they can go to SafeTree Hunt Systems and they can get theirs. Where are we going to go to get those?
Well, email me too at safetreehunt@yahoo.com.
Okay.
That's probably the fastest way, if not calling me directly, and you can put my phone number on your site there.
Okay.
I wish I had a website, but it's a value thing.
No, I got you. I understand. So, and also over on Facebook and on Twitter, and you said Instagram as well?
Yes. Yep. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay. So
my Facebook account's pretty busy. I do a lot there.
Okay. So SafeTree Hunt Systems. That's where we're going to go.
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
Well, I tell you what, Jim, we appreciate you taking time. More importantly, I appreciate what you do for hunters out there and keeping us safe. This is a subject that Danny and I, we've talked about before, and it's like we've got to get you on to the show and talk about this because it's important to us, and we think it's important to everybody else too. We got any questions before we let them go?
Nope.
Okay, we're all set there. So I tell you what, we're going to step outside. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We'll cover a few things here that Danny and I did this weekend as we wrap up the show. So we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show. Before we get too far into the segment, I want to throw up real quick the
first of all,
the promo code here.
Make sure you go over to Hunter's Blend I finished mine. You're having your second cup.
Yes, second cup. UNJ promo code right there. You plug that in, UNJ, and you'll save 10% on your order.
HuntersBlendCoffee.com at the checkout. Save 10%. And while you're drinking your coffee and you're thinking about hunting season, you might want to go over to buckbaits.com and use our promo code UpNorthJournal, and you'll get 20% off your checkout over there. And after you use your cents to get your animal, you got to season it.
That's right.
So why not go over to rebel6rubs.com? Hey, use the promo code NorthJournal, and you get another 20%.
That's right. So we want to thank all three of these companies who are working with us and helping us out, and in turn giving our listeners and viewers here the opportunity to save some money on the gear that they offer. So go over there, give them some love. And I want to say this, we said it on the pre-show tease, but we were at Woods and Water this weekend, yesterday and today, and both days we heard stories, and we actually had a couple people come up to us and talk about how much they liked the show and thanks
Listen
to
the show.
And they're back in purchasing product.
Right. They both stopped at both booths there and mentioned the show and how they like to listen to us, and gave us a couple compliments. And it was very rewarding to be able to hear that, and also rewarding to know that they're visiting our supporters as well.
Absolutely. And we want to say thank you for supporting the people who help us.
Absolutely. Hey, shout out to Randy Duncan. The wife, boys, and 5 of his scouts were able to get their hunter safety cards today.
Woo! Yes.
Absolutely. So happy to pass on the hunting heritage, and seeing class was packed with new hunters.
That is awesome. And Randy, he continually gives back, I know he's not here on the show with us a lot, and we don't see a lot from him, but he's still part of what we do here at Up North Journal.
Absolutely.
We want to thank him for what he's doing with his is it Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts?
Boy Scouts.
His Boy Scout group, and teaching them, number one, how to become a man. Let's face it, that's what it is.
Well, earlier he said they were showing them how to do the knots, and here they're passing hunter safety.
Mm-hmm.
So, Randy gives back a ton. And hopefully we'll see Randy this week at League. And it'll be our last week for League.
That's right.
So we'll talk about that next week. But I tell you what, Woods and Water this weekend, perfect weather.
Oh, dude, was it awesome. I said my trigger finger started twitching. The weather has changed. I saw my first leaf on the ground. The leaves are changing. Today I noticed leaves changing in the area. It's
Cub Scouts.
It's here, man. Oh, it is Cub Scouts. Okay.
But you know what? It's funny you mention that, because one thing we did notice is that when we talk, we seem to lose where we're at. I'm not going to lie. We almost
don't do that when I'm drinking coffee, man. I almost spit.
We almost ended up in Canada.
I didn't know lie. So it's an hour drive.
It's about an hour-ish, yeah.
To Woods and Water from our house. So Danny picks me up.
Yeah, we grab breakfast.
And we start talking.
Tooling down the road, eating, talking.
Well, we haven't done a show, an outdoor
in 2
show.
weeks. And we haven't done an outdoor show in months. And it's been 2 weeks since we had the show.
So we haven't really talked a lot.
Right. And I was up north last week, and we're just
like two high school girls talking.
All the way down the highway.
And we're tooling along, and all of a sudden
well, first we noticed the new truck stop.
The new truck stop, which was in the town past where we were supposed to get off.
Right, exactly. Oops.
And, didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Keep tooling along, keep talking, and next Danny, I think we missed the turnoff. No, we didn't.
No, I didn't see no sign.
No,
we're at exit 190.
No. I'm like, no, Dan, we're in the 190s now. When we get to 200, we're in Port Huron, and about 5 miles past that is Canada,
right? And so we
missed it by 30 miles.
We only missed it by 30 miles. It wasn't too bad. It was pretty funny. So we turned it around. We got back there, but when we got there, I tell you what, it was. We were pulling in. There was a line of people pulling in. It was cool. Literally, it was cool weather.
Yeah.
The first stop was the puppy tent. We walked by, and that was a madhouse.
And I made a huge mistake there. No, I didn't.
No, you knew it was coming, but
I took a picture and sent it to my wife.
We got over to, we went over to Buck Baits.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the booth with them for a while. Had a great time. That's where our first couple actually talked to us about listening to the show. So that was kind of cool.
We didn't get that gentleman's name. He was from the Kalamazoo area. Am I right? Is that where he was from? He said down in that area.
Sturgis.
Yeah, Sturgis.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the show, which Monday morning on your way to work, like you said, you always listen to the show on that hour drive. I didn't get your name, and I'm sorry, but he made a request. We asked him, "What would you like to hear on the show?"
Yep.
He said pheasant hunting.
Yep, upland game hunting more so.
I have already lined up somebody to talk about that, and it's talking about the Pheasant Restoration Initiative here in Michigan. And it's somebody I actually talked to about 2 months ago, and he was at Woods and Water.
Yeah.
This was after you.
No, I
you were with us.
Yes, you were talking to him about it, so I figured out that's where you're going.
So, yeah, we got a chance to talk to him, and we're going to get him on the show because they're going to start releasing birds here in Michigan. And this story is, I hope the success of this is just like the wild turkey repopulation here in Michigan. So if it is, it's going to be fantastic.
Yes, Randy, it was the Lovey's Truck Stop and Terry GPSY. Who needs it?
Right.
You know where we're going. We just got to stop talking and pay attention to the signs.
That's right.
But, so we talked to that couple there. That's what he requested. We already lined it up.
It's coming.
And we already talked to somebody else, another local call maker that actually he's just a few miles west of us, right?
Yeah.
That does deer calls. So we'll talk to him, and I think he does goose and
he does all kinds of calls.
Okay. I just saw a table full.
Yeah.
So we lined them up, and we'll have them on the show down the road here.
He's got a very unique system for his calls.
Really?
Yeah. The way, I don't want to spoil it. It's basically like a Lego system, he called it.
Okay.
So that's all I'm going to say.
So
very cool.
We'll take care of that. We spent some time there. Then we went over to Rebel 6 with
Eat
Rob.
lunch.
We had lunch, venison and walleye. It was yummy.
Absolutely.
So they had another great day. Today we found out that a gentleman stopped by, mentioned our show, bought some rubs from them specifically.
And some did over at Buck Baits too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a great weekend at Woods and Water yesterday and today. Yesterday you and I were there. Today we took our families.
Yep.
And so it was fun. Had a good time. I hope, I'm sure that both supporters did well.
Absolutely. I talked with Rob of Rebel 6, and they met their goal for the day.
Did they?
Yeah, and that was there talking with him at about 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Okay, good.
Yep.
He said he had a goal, and if they hit it, because they had prepared. It was so funny talking to them about how they were in the kitchen, I think it was of Rob's house, preparing all these bottles. And when the dragon dust came out, they were just crying and putting it all together.
That's the way I am when I eat the popcorn. But it's so good.
Right?
Oh, it's so good. I tell you what, that's Dragon Dust, Rebel 6 Rubs, Dragon Dust on popcorn is the bomb.com.
Really?
Oh, dude, you got to try it.
I guess
Might make your eyes water, but it is good.
Why eat something?
Because it's good.
That makes your eyes water.
Because it's good.
And have more of that.
Actually, it makes me sneeze.
Oh, so you sneeze in your popcorn.
No, I don't sneeze in the popcorn. Come on, man. But no, and the other thing was how much product was pushed over at Buck Baits. They basically sold out of what they had right up to the very end there of yesterday. He was very close to being out of product.
Yep.
Went home, and they put more product together, got it back over the next morning, and it was the same way by this evening. By this evening, the table was almost empty.
And the moral of that story was he was on edge because he had the bottles, but he didn't have the sprayers.
Yeah.
The sprayers were due in on Friday, didn't come in, so he was hoping they showed up on Saturday.
And they did.
And luckily they did.
They did.
So that was kind of cool.
So there was some happy people going home with some buckbait lures and scent attracted.
Absolutely. So. It was a good weekend had by all. So
stopped over and talked with the Schnurs over at Beyond the Ears.
Yep.
They had their booth set up, and actually there was a Dan Yassa sighting today.
There was.
It was, and I got to see him for about 5 seconds.
I got to see him for about 3 minutes.
Okay,
so we're good. Just to get my question answered, and we took care of that. We stopped and saw Jack.
Jack Turner from Family Traditions Treestands. That's one of the hardest working men I've seen around there. That guy is nothing but go.
Right.
That's Treestands that I use. I've got them down in Indiana, got them up at our place. We're fixing to put another order in for some more for our deer camp, either this fall at some point or next spring.
All right. So it was a good weekend, a great weekend to start the push for hunting season. Because I think the youth season is going to kick off here next weekend.
Next weekend, absolutely.
So it was perfect timing, and it was good to see old hunters, young hunters, and everything in between.
Yeah,
males, females. When we were talking to him, I had a young gentleman today. He was kind of just starting out, and we kind of went through his little process, and I sold him one bottle. That's all he had money for, and he said, "I'll take one of those." I said, "All right." So it's good.
Getting them going.
Absolutely.
That's
then
awesome.
Another one. I don't think you were there. It was the young man buying the call.
I heard that story.
Okay, yep. One thing nice about what Buck Baits does is their calls, they priced them for the show at a reasonable price where the young man could afford it and not worry about, hey, I paid $50, $60, $75 for this call and I scratched it or whatever. No, $20, here you go, and away you went.
Yeah, you get these younger kids getting into the outdoors, and I know when I started, my dad didn't say, "Hey, go here's some money, go get this or go get that, whatever you need." No, I had to earn it. I had to mow lawns, take the trash out, do whatever, work small side jobs as a kid. I started roofing houses when I was about 10 with my dad, putting a few dollars in my pocket.
Yep.
So you've got, I had to earn that to be able. And when kids do that and they're putting skin in the game, it's nice that Buck Baits does that to help get people started.
Absolutely does.
So hats off to them.
And so next week, in the next week, we've got the last Thursday night league shoot. We'll be done. That'll be our 4 weeks. We'll be ready and prepped for deer season.
Let's save that for next week. But I will say,
nope, that's all I'm going to say.
It has helped. It has helped.
And we'll see if we can't hear anything about the youth season, or that'd be also the Liberty Hunt, correct?
That's right. Anybody out there that's putting game down right now, whether it be small game or waterfowl, if you're a youth and you're hunting these youth hunts or the Liberty Hunt for the vets, you get something, send us a pic. Yeah, we'd like to share it, put you up there and give you a shout out. So
absolutely,
send something over to us if you can. But that's about all I got
this
week.
That's about it. It was an action-packed week, and tomorrow we can go back to our regular jobs.
Yep. The only thing I can say, we brought a puppy home.
Oh, I'm going to save that for a little bit down the road. Buddy.
Oh, no. My wife brought a puppy home.
Oh, no. It's yours.
We had this discussion last year with him. Now it's my turn. So
yeah, we'll see.
But yes, so we'll talk more about that as the weeks and months progress.
Absolutely.
So, all right. You folks take care. We had a great week. Thanks for the shout-outs out there at the Woods and Water. If you see us out there, at any of the shows, let us know. Stop us, talk to us. We'd love to hear this kind of stuff and feedback, especially for what y'all would like to hear on the show.
That's right.
So we're going to sign off now. We'll be back again next week. Y'all take care. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on GoodTalkRadio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Spot Shooters Archery,
Easy Cut,
Packer Max,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Scent Lock,
Scent Blocker,
Lim Walker Game Calls,
Buck Baits,
Gut Check,
Stanislawski Release Aids,
Copper John,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Vapor Hunting Products,
and Rebel 6 Rubs.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.